Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of tonight's Monday night's panel and on the sofa. I'm delighted to say that joining us later on will be four illustrious panelists, but first we have a great pleasure in having Angus McDonald on. He is in his car at the moment, so we will be having just the sound to begin with. Just some brief notes before we start, just to remind you that memberships now for the Official Supporters Club are due for renewal. So those of you haven't already renewed, please can you do so via the email that you've been sent to, or you can always pop into the Legends Lounge at home games where the committee will be happy to do that. Now, because it's a busy night, without further ado, I'm going to bring Vic on. Good evening, Vic, and welcome. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much indeed, Andy. I should just remind you that SAS Travel will leave tomorrow for the Walsall game at 4:15 from the county ground. Please do not be late, because those of us who are picking up the bus later don't want to hang around too much. So 4:15 from the county ground. And SAS Travel will be open on Thursday night for Carlisle bookings and possibly Stockport. But look out for news of that. But 4:15 tomorrow night for Walsall.
Okay, then, without further ado, I will bring Angus on. Good evening, Angus. It's Andy here and Vic. Hope you're well.
How are we doing? You okay?
We're very good, thank you, Angus. Yeah, and
I will leave you.
Yeah, as you're driving, we'll crack on and ask you first and foremost, how do you think the two games have gone so far? Is it fair to say it's a season of two second halves so far?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you look at Saturday's game and it was unlucky with the sending off. But I think we actually performed better second half than we did first half with 10 men. And then obviously the opening day of the season can go one or two ways, and especially with the new squad that we've got and the young lads, we're still trying to gel together, but things can definitely only get better.
Yeah, what about, let's go through the first two games then, and Harrogate away. What do you think the problem was there? Was it a case of players getting used to each other? It was a bit more physical than you thought? How would you explain that defeat at Harrogate?
I wouldn't say it was more physical than we thought. I think everyone knows what League Two is about. I think it was a case of taking chances. I think you look at the first.
Well, we seem to have lost Angus for the moment, so he's back again. Sorry, Angus, we just lost you briefly for a moment.
The head of second half where. Hello, you there?
So, yeah, we lost you briefly for a moment. If you just go through that answer again.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
No, where if you take your chances first half, and then with the penalty second half, and obviously the header, a yard or two out. If we take our chances, which you've got to do. The scoreline could definitely have been different, but it was three easy goals that definitely could have been prevented.
Now, back to Saturday, you'll be aware there's quite a lot of debate about 3 at the back or 4 at the back within the fan base. Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? What do you prefer to play in?
I've played both. I've just left Rotherham, which I've probably spent the last 2 years playing a 3 at the back. Which suited us. I enjoy both. We looked more comfortable with a 4 at the back. You could probably say second half on Saturday. Whether that was the state of the game down to 10 men, but no, I enjoy both, and I believe we've got the players to do both, and it's good to have that in the squad where you can mix it up.
What about? I know you can't comment too much on referees. I don't want to get you into trouble, but can you sort of understand a lot of the yellow cards, or were some of them unfair? How would you sum those up?
To be honest, I'm going to be brutally honest. And if it gets me in trouble, it gets me in trouble, because I've had this before throughout my career, to be honest. I feel like referees nowadays are probably too quick to give a yellow card. I feel like a lot of, going back when I probably first made my league debut, probably got away with 1 or 2 or 3 even before. All right, it's now time to go in the book. Whereas now it's you lay a finger on someone, you lay a glove on someone, like you say, and you get a yellow card. It was the same. I had the same problem when I got sent off last season after I was making my comeback from fitness, and ultimately it sort of killed my season off and couldn't get back in the squad because the manager probably thought he couldn't trust me, whereas that wasn't the case. It was never a sending off. But, you know, lads have got to be a bit more smarter. If you're on a yellow card, you can't really touch anyone, because referees nowadays are too quick to give a second yellow and want to get you in the book, because they feel like it probably calms the game down a little bit, when, to be honest, it probably just frustrates us more as footballers.
Yeah, is it fair to say that the first yellow was proffered a little early in the game, and that kind of sets the tone a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, sometimes it warrants a yellow card, you know, with how bad the tackle is and whatnot. But with the way it was, I do believe something like that was definitely too early in the game for McKirdy to go in the book with.
Now, what about that at half-time? And obviously, obviously something must have changed at half-time. Can you give us an idea of what went on in the dressing room and how Scott Lindsay addressed it? What was going on?
To be honest, it was just a firm shaking down. I feel like the lads knew they needed to roll their sleeves up. So I don't feel like there was too much to really say. You know, he applied the tactical changes, which, you know, was nothing down to the lads that were on the pitch at the time. But I feel like the tactical changes were needed. We'll go to a 4 at the back, so we need to change the personnel. And, you know, you can see it worked within the first minute or two. We were down the side and had a cross and attempt on goal. So, you know, it's one of them. It's hard when you're coming in when you've got 10 men. You know, you've got to play another half with 10 men. So, like I say, I think the lads knew they just needed to roll their sleeves up. We all needed to stick together, and a point at the end of the day obviously feels like a win.
Yeah, it was a battling point, wasn't it? I mean, how did it feel afterwards? Were you frustrated by the game as a whole, or were there a lot of positives in the changing rooms afterwards? How would you describe it?
No, there was a whole lot of positives. You know, you look at the chances we created. We probably ultimately had the better chances of the game in the second half. And, you know, if you add one more player into the mix, then you know you'd like to think that we go on to win that game.
Yeah. Now, how are you settling in? Because you've come in, and it was, you know, you're the captain now, but you've come to a new club effectively. How long does it take you to settle in as a player? Did you settle in pretty quickly? Because you've had a lot of clubs, haven't you? So you kind of know about the moving around kind of thing. So how quickly do you settle down as a person and a player?
Yeah, I'd say quite quickly. Like you say, I've had a few clubs now, so it's not new to me to move clubs and move around the country. And I feel like with how I signed and how quickly the season was approaching, I had to settle in quick, and obviously becoming captain and settling into the squad. And they're a great group of lads to settle into. They're quite easy to get along with, which isn't always the case at some teams. But that's just credit to the manager and the staff for bringing the players in that he's got around the dressing room now.
Yeah, and as a senior player, if I might put it like that, although let's be honest, you're not overly old as a player, really. But in terms of a senior professional, how are you as a captain? Are you a sort of a shouter, or are you putting an arm around the shoulder when things aren't going right in the game? How would you describe yourself?
I feel like you've got to be a presence, and you've got to be vocal on the pitch. But I feel like it's knowing your players and knowing which players need a kick up the arse sometimes and which ones need an arm around the shoulder, because not everyone responds the same to criticism or help. So obviously it's just knowing your players, and like I say, if you need to give them a kick up the arse, give them a kick up the arse, which I'm sure will come at times. I'm sure someone will give me a kick up the arse, because I don't want it always to be me doing that. I want someone to do that to me if I'm not putting something the right way or performing on the pitch.
So if I might ask, did anybody say anything to Harry McKirdy on Saturday? Because he clearly was upset by that early booking. He was arguing a lot with the referee, which doesn't help, does it? And I think most of us in the stand were thinking something's going to happen here very soon. Is there any way you can calm him down? How would you approach that?
Obviously, heat of the game, and ultimately, I can't just switch off from my roles and my duties as defending first and foremost. So it's hard to try and get that across to Harry. obviously still getting to know Harry myself, and a few of the other lads had their arm around him and are trying to talk to him in his ear, but it's hard, and it's so hard. I've been there myself, and you're on a yellow card, or you go flying into a challenge where you don't need to. But when you're so passionate for the game, and it's like I said, it's heat of the moment sort of thing. You ultimately want to give your all. You want to fight for every ball. You want to tackle, and it just shows the personality he has got. Whether he should or should not have gone in for the challenge is another story, and he knows that. So it's a tough one to try and manage.
What about the heat on Saturday as well? Because with 11 men, okay, but with 10, you've got to work extra hard, haven't you? Albeit with more substitutes now, of course. But how difficult were conditions on Saturday?
Yeah, very. We've been probably lucky that the weather's been extra hot through pre-season, so it's sort of used to it. But it definitely didn't make it any easier.
Yeah.
It's just you've got to stay as hydrated as possible, and I feel like the lads stuck together as a real team. There's a real bond, and hopefully we can take that into the next game.
Yeah, what about that? Because obviously you've got a cup match tomorrow. I won't ask you whether you're playing or not. That's up to the head coach, of course. Whether you can say whether you're involved or not, that's entirely up to you. But what about that game? Because I think what Swindon need is a win of some sort, don't they? Just to really kickstart a season. Yeah,
definitely. That goes without saying for probably any team. If you kick off the season with a win and you take it into your next performance, but the performance, like you say, second half was definitely positive. So if we can start with that same performance tomorrow night and go get a win, it'll kick us on for back in the league action on Saturday, and we can take it from there and really kick on our season.
And how are you? Because you've had your problems, haven't you, in terms of health? Is that all right now? Are you okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely fine. Couldn't be better. I've overcome that now, and I just want to play as much football as possible, because I feel like I've missed too much. Obviously, no fault of my own. So no, absolutely, health is not an issue at the moment.
Well, that's great to know. Many saw you as a really good signing in the summer because of obviously come from Rotherham, where they got promotion last season. How much of a decision was it to come to Swindon, or were you your mind made up pretty swiftly?
It wasn't. It didn't take me too long to make the decision. I knew when I left Rotherham that with being there for 2 years, I had one really good season in the Championship, and then last season was sort of plagued with first half of the season being injured, and the second half trying to get back into a winning team, and which ultimately got promoted. So it was a tough one. But leaving, I just wanted to be somewhere that ultimately felt wanted. I wanted to enjoy a style of football I enjoy playing, be with a great group of lads, and that's ultimately when most of the boxes were ticked, that's when the decision was made. So it was an easy one with the staff we've got, the players we've got, and now I'm really enjoying it.
And did you know you were going to be captain? Was that part of the deal, as it were?
No, that wasn't part of the deal. Obviously, come down, and thankfully the manager's put me as captain, which I'll grasp at every opportunity. But no, it was not something that we spoke about. Obviously, like I say, being an older one in the group, maybe it was an easy decision. But you could have a number of captains in the squad. We've got enough leaders out there with the likes of Johnny Williams, Lewis Reed, Ben Gladwin. We're all experienced enough to lead the team, and that's what makes my job a little bit easier.
You'll be aware there was a reaction after the Harrogate game. People were disappointed with that result. But what would you say to fans tonight to say, look, this is where we're going, we're okay? From what you've seen for the squad, are we in for an okay season? How would you read it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I didn't play any part in last season. We narrowly missed out on playoffs. And obviously, fans can get frustrated because they end the season on such a high, winning games and being in the playoffs, and obviously narrowly missing out, that they probably ultimately think we should be winning these games Harrogate away doesn't seem like an issue for us when, you know, we're a new squad. We're still gelling together, and it takes time to gel with a new squad with how many players you've signed. I'd definitely say just stick with us, because the squad we've got, you know, once you get that first win, the second win under our belt, we're playing the style of football we know we can play with the quality we've got in the team. It'll all come together, and I'm sure their frustration will hopefully go.
Well, we wish you well, Angus. Thank you very much indeed. One question I've got to ask you is, you're from Winchester, right? So why Angus McDonald? Tell us. I mean, you've played for England as well at various levels. So how does that come about?
Scottish grandparents. My granddad was Scottish from my dad's side of the family. So that's where the name comes from, I'm afraid.
Well, fair enough. No, it's such a Scottish name, and you're born in Winchester and you played for England. So I just wanted to clear that up. and one other thing, I mean, obviously, you know, it's up to the manager what position he strengthens, but David sent this question: what position do you think we want to strengthen? You know, from what you've seen so far, most people think an out-and-out striker. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, I think, you know, wouldn't go amiss. You know, whoever they get in, if they get no one, I'm sure we'll be absolutely fine. I'm sure we'll kick on them, you know, be it finishing the top half, the top six, where we want to finish. That's our targets, that's our aims, and everyone knows that. You know, an out-and-out striker who's going to come in and score goals, and 20 goals a season would be lovely, but, you know, they're probably few and far between, and with the budget and stuff, that's, you know, I don't know too much about that, but, you know, with the squad we've got, I'm sure we'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, you'll be aware, of course, that Romeo Hutton put a couple of absolute sumptuous crosses in the second half, and if you had a centre forward there, they'd have that was meat and drink to them, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course, but, you know, we've got players that can get on the end of crosses. It's just obviously having that bond, having that gel, knowing when, you know, that partnership, knowing when he's got his head down, he's going to put it in the box and get in the box and in the right areas. And I'm sure that will come regardless of whether we get an out-and-out striker in or whether we stick with what we got.
Angus, we wish you well. Thank you ever so much for joining us this evening, and hopefully we can talk to you again at the course of the season and get your uptake on how it's going. Is that okay with you?
That's absolutely fine. Hopefully the camera will be on next time.
Yeah, lovely. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we wish you well on the remainder of your journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Angus.
No, thank you, chaps. See you
Cheers.
soon.
All the best.
All the best.
Very good.
Well, there you go. Nice to get the captain of Swindon on the move. Not from Swindon, clearly. Well, maybe. I don't know where in terms of his journey. But anyway, nice to get him on. And we'll get to him again throughout the course of the season. Lots of questions already coming in for our panel. So there we are.
Which I will now bring on for us all. Steve, the fireman. Yeah, you need to
find now.
Good evening, Johnny. Evening, Mitchell.
Evening.
Evening, Dan. There you go.
Well, Dan's there. There he is. Marvellous.
Yeah,
okay.
With the new third team shirt.
Yes. Yeah, marvellous.
Okay, I'll leave you illustrious people to get on with it.
Okay, Andy, thank you very much indeed. Steve, first and foremost,
yes.
From BBC Wiltshire, of course, Steve, how's the fire?
It's still smoking away across the fields, so I don't think I'm going to get a call from the news editor to go running out just yet. So, according to our news editor at work, they can see at their end as well up in Swindon. So I'm down to the other side of Marlborough, and it's pluming away, but yeah, still black smoke out there. So,
well, there we are. Obviously, the conditions are very, very dry at the minute.
Absolutely.
Certainly in Devon, I can't see a bit of green grass around at all. And my garden, my lawn, it resembles dust storm. There's no grass on it at all. It's just horrendous. So be careful out there, I think it's fair to say. Johnny from the Swindon Advertiser, very good evening to you.
Hello, how you doing?
All right, thank you very much. Mitchell, Swindon Town fan of great renown, good evening to you.
Good evening.
And Dan Hunt, who I listened on the Loathe Stranger podcast to not an hour ago. Good evening to you.
Oh, evening, Vic, and thanks for listening.
Oh, no, it's a great pleasure. Right, let's have a look. Right, let's go through some of these questions because there's loads coming in already. And Sean says, that ref on Saturday was an absolute shocker. Discuss. Steve, your view on that referee on Saturday?
I think you could tell from the first few minutes he was going to be one of those referees, the way he was sort of marching and pointing quite firmly with every decision that he was going to give against us. I've never seen a referee like it in my life. I mean, you only had a sneeze and you got a yellow card. No, some of those decisions were just bonkers, really. I do wonder how much Salford might have slipped him before the game, because it was just ludicrous. I mean, you only had to sort of say something, or he's booking them for their first challenges, and some of them weren't even that bad. No, the worst refereeing I've ever seen at the county ground or any other game that I've been to in my 30 plus years of going to football matches. So let's hope he doesn't come to the county ground anytime again soon.
You wait till you get to 60 odd. You've seen some shockers since then. Right, Johnny. Honestly, Johnny, let's talk about that, because Angus was hinting there. I can call him Angus now because he's a mate of ours. He was hinting at there that, maybe the referee on Saturday was a bit trigger happy. And Steve just made that point. I mean, a word might have been something he could have done rather than get a yellow card out. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, this is I think people's general frustration with referees. It's not so much he was consistent. Is probably the nicest way you could say. He was consistent and he did enforce the laws, which is fair enough. But the problem that people have with referees is they've got no feel for the game. With McKirdy, I get, with McKirdy chatting away in your ear, it can be really frustrating and it can be easy to just go, mate, if I book you, you'll shut up. Where he clearly doesn't. But with other ones where, I think with Angus, for example, as far as anyone else is aware, no one was warned about time wasting at that point. He just went over and booked him. That frustrates players, it frustrates fans. I don't know what he's getting out of that. I don't know why he thinks, I'm doing my job, I'm upholding the rules. But why that doesn't need to happen. He didn't need to send McKirdy off either. It was like he was looking for an excuse to do it, and he just didn't have any feel for the game. I think if he uses a bit of common sense, which clearly doesn't exist with a lot of referees, then you can become such a better referee if you're consistent and use common sense. Other than that, I don't think players and fans can really ask for a lot, because it is an extremely difficult job, by the way. But that bloke didn't help himself at all. He just, he wanted to be the star of the show, and my goodness, was his name up in lights.
Yeah, there's a lovely picture, Mitchell. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's when he's given the yellow card to Angus McDonald. It's a real sort of, here I am, look at this. It's a yellow card. I mean, the problem is he puts himself under pressure, doesn't he, straight away by doing early yellow cards. That's the point I made to Angus McDonald, that, once you started on that train, you kind of can't get off it, really.
I feel like every fan at every game that doesn't go their way feel like they had the worst ref ever. But I genuinely believe he was the worst ref ever. And I don't think he was consistent, because if Salford did something, there was worse things that wasn't bookings. But there's one point where Khan turned into their player, lost the ball into their player, and their player got booked. It was the first time I saw him book someone, and the guy didn't even do anything. But and this is not me defending referees, because he was absolutely terrible. But what we do need to understand is you're asking a referee, a semi-professional person, to referee a professional game. The value of these games against the value of what they train or they get paid, it's you shouldn't have a position where you have a semi-professional person reffing a professional game. In my opinion, it's as simple as that. I think Dan and the guys on the Low Stranger might have discussed it before. I think they might have, where you're asking the value of how important it is, and you're asking this person to go do it in their spare time, and the money they get isn't great. They get dictated at what they can and can't do. If they reject a fixture, which could be 4 hours away from the house, they don't get put on the next few fixtures. So it's a bit of I played golf with a ref a few months back, and he was explaining to me, and then suddenly you go, actually, it's a lot for these guys to be asked to do in a professional game. Why do you have professional football players and semi-professional refs?
Interesting. My thoughts on that is you get professional refs in the Premier League, don't you, and still controversy. So, there you go. This is from old Duffer Ratter. Some refs are card happy, some are more sensible. The ref Saturday seemed to lean to giving town players bookings. The biggest cheer of the day was when he booked a Salford player. We want consistency in officials. We didn't see that Saturday. And I think, Dan, that's the point you were making on the Low Stranger. And to be honest, the Salford player got booked for what was probably the most innocuous challenge of the afternoon. It was ridiculous booking, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was nice to cheer something in this season with no goals for. We'll take every little win we can get. But yeah, I think the referee made a rod for his own back because he went so early and because he was booking players for their first infringement. To be consistent, it's always going to be quite a card-happy day. If you take McKirdy, for example, I think because you'd seen the ref was on one and he'd already booked you for dissent, when that 50-50 challenge came round and you see McKirdy charging in like a bit of a headless chicken, you could just sense everyone wincing in the ground. It wasn't actually a bad tackle. It was just a block tackle, a bit clumsy, proper forwards tackle, like Paul Scholes would have made that back in the day. But yeah, the ref was itching to get rid of him. So, I mean, I'm all for audio, like maybe not at League Two level, but much like in rugby, I would love to hear the audio between referees and players. I think that would help fans understand a lot of what goes on and perhaps, how much of an irritant Harry McKirdy can be to an official.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he didn't really help himself. And Dave has sent this message in. Harry has created his own persona. Opposition and refs are going to be all over him, knowing he will bite. And I think it's fair to say Salford knew exactly what they were doing, didn't they? I mean, let's rile him. It's a hot day. He was obviously fuming about something when he came onto the pitch, let alone anything else. But, Steve, I think you made the point on the low stranger, Dan, and we were all saying he's going to go. He's going to go, Steve. It was like that, wasn't it? It was going to happen.
He was itching. Yeah, you could just sense something was going to happen. Funny enough, I spoke to a Carlisle fan not so long ago when he was there. They loved him for a few months, and then they got bored of his antics, and then his own fans turned against him because he was too, gobby, for a better word there, and they got fed up with it. I think a few fans on Saturday from the North Stand were shouting, shut up, Harry, because they could just see what was going to happen. In the drinks break, he was having a go at the fourth official. Then the linesman joined in, but the linesman came up to have a conversation with him, and still he doesn't get the message. And I'm sorry, but if he was on my team, I wouldn't want him. I mean, he's too disruptive.
The centre backs read it because every time they ran, they just put their arm across McKirdy. And if you're a centre back, pinch him under his arm. The dark arts. Easy. Yeah. Every time that guy ran, McKirdy just slapped him. The guy slapped McKirdy or put him to the floor. Nobody was seeing it. So they could see that he was getting more rattled. And he was getting fouled. But they were getting away with it every time. The big centre-back, he thought, I'll just keep doing it. And when he got sent off, he looked at his teammates to be like, nailed that one. Like, you could all see it.
Yeah, Johnny, I mean, you spoke obviously afterwards to Scott Lindsay and, you'll have done your press duties afterwards. What was the general feeling about that? Because, we all, let's be honest, when McKirdy's on his game and he's scoring goals, everybody loves it. It's great. And he did a fabulous job for us last year. Let's never forget that. But Saturday, I mean, you could argue that it worked in Swindon's favour, the fact that he got sent off in a way, because they had to change the system. But what was the general view afterwards?
I mean, Lindsay was saying, he felt that the team generally were hard done by. I can't really remember all of the yellow cards, but I think the second McKirdy yellow, obviously Angus's yellow. I think other than that, I'd say the referee got probably the rest of them right. Yeah. It would just be the case that, I can't remember every foul that happened in that game, but I don't really remember any or many that Salford had cleared someone out and you thought, that's a yellow card. You sort of maybe one or two, but it's not like, I just feel like we were a little bit more loose with our tackling than they were. But anyway, Lindsay sort of felt they were a bit hard done by, and he didn't particularly go into that much detail on McKirdy. He just said hopefully he'll learn from the fact that he's going to miss games might give him a bit of a kick, and he might force him to change his ways. But I mean, here's hoping that's not going to happen, is it? He's a child. He's just an absolute child. He's never going to grow up. Maybe not never, but certainly no time soon, unless something serious happens in his life. Like he nearly loses his contract, he nearly loses his chance to be a professional footballer. He won't change. He's going to be stuck in this cycle. He's done it before. Okay, he's only 25, so you could say, maybe people learn around the age that he is, but it's happened so many times now. It's going to happen at Swindon. I've no doubt that if an offer comes in, Swindon will look at it like they'd be stupid not to. But he was such a good player last year. History tells you that every other Swindon player that's had a decent season they're just gone straight away. You just don't see them. I didn't know anything about this, but my theory would be that no one wants him. No one's willing to. He's not that good. He's not a championship player for people to put up with this stuff. The people that are in the championship, not all. I mean, usually, obviously, they're pretty talented, but they're not always the absolute best players. That they work hard and they're disciplined, and they don't have too many, historical issues. There's a reason there are so many talented players with records in non-league. It's because no one wants to put up with it. You're not paying these players this amount of money to run the risk of him doing something ridiculous and then it end up costing you. So sorry for that slight rant, but I don't think he's ever going to learn. To be honest, it's one of those things where he's a great player and he'll score goals for you, but at what cost? Do you get rid of him? Is he there to sort of, is he going to cost you a different way?
Well, before I come to you, Dan, I'll see you put your pen up like you do in school. So well done. I feel like a school teacher. Claire says Harry needs to show more maturity on the pitch and set an example to the younger players. It's great the passion he shows, but needs to channel it better. I would say to you, Dan, that part of why he was loved so much last year was he is a maverick, and he got 24 goals, and we all loved him for that. So, what's your view on it?
Well, I feel like I need to defend Harry a little bit. If we're talking about 10 games into the season and he'd only got one goal, then perhaps some of what Johnny's saying there might be a bit more valid. But you're talking about one of the best players in League Two last season. And yes, he is an irritant. He's a bit of a gobshite, but he's our gobshite, isn't he? And actually, when he channels that frustration and energy into, trying to prove people wrong, trying to wind up opposition fans, then, he is a real asset. And actually, with him being 25 and having had a few scares in his career, that day he turned up on trial at Supermarine to turn out for Swindon, his career was going nowhere. He was playing for
he was at Weymouth before that, and he wasn't that great at Weymouth.
Yeah, so
he was lucky to get something.
If he's ever going to grow up, this is a good test of Lindsay's man management. But if he's ever going to grow up, it needs to be now, because, he doesn't want to throw away the good work he did last season. And perhaps, Johnny's right. I think probably 300 or 400 grand is probably a bit too rich for a club in the Championship to take a punt on him. But, at the top end of League One, if there's a manager there that relishes, that man management challenge, and Ben Garner did it very well, and reputedly Ben Chorley played a good hand in that. And obviously Jack Payne was a seriously good teammate to McKirdy. I suspect Jack Payne is a big miss. But yeah, we said it on the pod, that's where you need your teammates, your captain, to actually get hold of you and tell you something you don't want to hear.
That's why I specifically asked him whether he would go and give him a good bit of a rollick in or put his arm around him. I think it was Louis Reed who tried to calm him down. They came off for a drinks break, didn't they? And it was Louis Reed who was sort of obviously having a word with him before he then started to berate the fourth official. Straight after.
But no, I mean, his histrionics on Saturday frustrated the heck out of me. You don't want to see that again and again. No, I mean, he's going to have a sit down tomorrow night. He's got a game against his former club, Carlisle United, on Saturday. I'm backing him to come back with a bang.
Watch out for flying burgers, of course. Those are
yes.
Neil Cowley says, worst ref I've seen in over 40 years of watching Town. Worse still, Salford only managed one yellow when there were several key fouls which were late from behind on Town players. Tom says it all when he booked Sol Bryn for the ball boy, taking his time getting the ball back. Wakeling being pushed from behind in the box and no penalty either. Chris says the ref was Championship ref last season, then got put on League One, then League Two towards the end. Andy Woolmer is well known to be trigger happy, and boy he was. Kevin says, does the club get a fine because of it? It's a joke if they do. I'll ask you about that, Johnny, because it's we were all saying that Saturday. Paul in Black, there was a rumour about the rest changing room being trashed. Is that true? And Trevor says he was arguing to our bench after he got booked. Something had got to him, maybe even before the game. I mean, the only kind of time I remember something similar was when Tommy Mooney was on one some years ago, and Andy King took him off at half-time because it was obvious he was going to get sent off. And that's the only time I can ever remember a similar situation. So, to be fair, Scott Lindsay didn't have time to take him off at half-time, did he? Because he was gone. So where do you stand, Steve? I mean, he was so great last year in terms of not only his goals, but, you know, he was our talisman, let's be honest.
Oh, he was great. I mean, you know, the goal he scored against Manchester City, we'll all remember him for that. And in fact, the goal he scored in pre-season at Woking, pretty special, nice little fancy flick over the goalkeeper. I would love to know why he feels the need to be the way he is on that pitch. Just he's a decent footballer for League Two. We all see that. We all get that. But why he feels the need to be so, you know, the hand gestures and the waving and all this. I'd love to know the psyche behind all that. I mean, somebody said to me, you know, if he doesn't have that, he's not half the player that he is. Well, you know, you don't play football with your mouth, you play with your feet. I'd just love to know why he feels the need to keep on, because everyone's telling him to stop it, pack it in, stop it, pack. Just focus on your football. You never know. You might be a championship player in a couple of years' time if you just knuckle down, shut up, and get on with it, because it will cost us games in the future. I'm sure of it. You know, even Scott said in his interview on Saturday after the game, you know, it cost us. I mean, yes, it probably was a blessing in disguise in some ways, because, you know, we all like the back. I prefer the back four rather than how we set up on at the beginning. But no, he is a good player. He got us 25 goals, whatever it was last year. But he just frustrates me. Just frustrates me. If I was Scott Lindsay personally, if that offer came in tomorrow morning, I would accept it, and I'll be happy to drive him to his next club. If it's Hibernian, if it's Millwall, if it's down near Plymouth, I'd happily do that. You know, that's not a problem for me.
Petrol's expensive, Steve. Don't say that before you know. Let's just see what happens. I'll come to you in a minute, Mitchell, because I can see you're disagreeing here. But do you know what? He reminded me of two people, Johnny, and I'm going to put this to you. He reminded me of John McEnroe, and he reminded me of Paolo Di Canio. And if he'd smacked the dugout, that would have made that comparison complete. Because, as we all know, McEnroe, when he sort of started to subdue himself a little bit, did lose a bit of an edge, because he had that kind of edge with him. Can you see the point I'm making?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically if the genius outweighs the madness, then you kind of put up with it. Last year, the genius absolutely outweighed the madness by a lot. He scored, what did he pick up? Like 13 bookings, about 11 of which were for dissent. But then he scored 20 goals, which effectively fired us into the playoffs. So, you know, you accept it. If this year, like, it's very early, like I agree with Dan, like I'm 100% sure he'll score against Carlisle, or, you know, put my house on it kind of thing. But it's one of those things where if he's not scoring,
thing to say.
He acts like he does on Saturday, and he just becomes like a really disruptive presence to the group. And then the group are just like, why are we like this guy's? It's really affecting the group. I mean, football's a team game. It has to be about the group. I don't think I'd go as far as driving him to his next club. Like, it's a bit of a loss if you lose him, but you kind of, I don't know. Sometimes you maybe have to look with a clear head and say, is this the best thing for the group? On the fine thing I was going to say earlier, I spoke to the FA yesterday or this morning, I can't remember. If six or more players get a yellow card, then it's a £1,000 fine for the club and a letter, and then every time it happens, it's like £2 and £4 then £8, and it basically keeps going. So
£1,000 is on its way to the FA then.
Yeah, they'll get Town have been fined £1,000 and receive a letter, which I presume will just go straight in recycling, because why do we do this?
Dear Swindon, don't do it again. Otherwise, you're charging more money. Mitchell, you were shaking your head. Let me just read you this. Rob says he might have been subbed at half time. He never made it that far, which, you know, point I made. But what were you shaking your head about particularly?
I think, I agree with Dan. I think some people, we're a bit short-sighted at times in the fans. We're with the ficklest of fans as well. Yeah, he is what he is. You know, last year, I think we all said it. If he wasn't ours, we would absolutely hate him. But he was ours. And I think him playing on that cusp is what makes him so... exciting. That there are kids singing his bucket hats, all the things that he brings. In my opinion, you can't jump on him after one of the things after 1 or 2 games. One of the things I liked about him last year before he was Harry McKirdy for us was, and I said it on here last year, his work rate was fantastic. He would chase everything down, and this is before he scored all the goals, and it was all the Harry McKirdy show. But he was still that kind of annoying person. I think that's what I said. If you can't handle me at my worst of times, you don't deserve it at my best of times. And I think Scott Lindsay is a big job for him to work out how to put that arm around him and go, look, I know you've lost the manager who loved you. I know you've lost your best mate. What do we do to get the best out of Harry McKirdy? Do we go 4-3-3 because you've made it clear that you'd rather play out wide than through the middle? Have that conversation, then decide if it's not, he's got sent off, let's get rid of him, he's a bad, he's poison in the dressing room. We have the conversation, understand the situation, and then weigh it up, because he might just be having a bad spell, bit of a change. It might be struggling to adapt to, Angus said it perfectly. I don't know him. I didn't know how to deal with him. Just not my area. Well, learn, because you're the captain and he's arguably one of the most influential players in the team. Learn as a captain to know how to deal with it, because he's Harry McKirdy. He's going to be like this. So, it shouldn't be Bowdry having to run over and say, can't all really, the captain needs to have a conversation. Say, look, how can we work going forward? It's a bigger picture. It's not as simple as Harry McKirdy's poison, get him out, sell him, because everyone's like, we need goal scorers. He's your goal scorer. He is your goal scorer. We can see that. We just need to understand. And if he decides, I don't want to be blah, 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 then there is a League One manager who will have you where your best mate is. There's a door.
Yeah. Gareth says people are crazy. They say they want him gone as much, and he needs to be managed. He's the only player that really excites the fan running at the opposition. Lee says splash out on Simpson. Team is crying out for a unit up front. Daz, hello, Daz. Did corporate Saturday, not saying without Phil King by a mile. Get him back, Clem and Rob Angus. It makes sense. So there we are. That's a message about hospitality. Yeah, Dan, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, here we go. One player I thought, Solbrin, let's get this nonsense out of the way first and foremost. There are 2 incidents that, I still can't believe that people were having a go at Solbrin in the town. I just don't get that. What's that about? I liked Lewis Ward, rather. I liked Lewis Ward, and I thought he should have started the season. I have no problem with saying that. But hey, this kid, he's come in, he's on loan, he gets picked. Don't have a go at him. It's ridiculous. And then the thing afterwards where Steve Milderhall gets his car keyed. What sort of planet are we living on?
Unfortunately, it's not just a Swindon problem. It's a football problem. Every club has idiots, and on Saturday, a group of idiots decided to take aim at Solbrin, a 21-year-old keeper on his home debut, first home game of the season. That's generally where new players and fans start to make a bond for the year ahead. And I just can't get into the psyche of someone that would give Solbrin pouters. I mean, how many pints are there before the match to think that's a good idea? And I gather Lewis Ward went across and remonstrated, and I can't imagine Steve Mildenhall took that very, very well either. He's a scary bloke. Watch out for him. I can't understand it. And the incident with Steve Mildenhall's car getting keyed, I really hope there's nothing underhand with that. I hope it's just a bad accident. Someone's scraped it on the way by, because, yeah, again, you're talking about a Swindon bloke, played for the club. He's been goalkeeper coach for 4 or 5 years now. Great servant to the club when we came close to going to the wall. So I can't fathom it. And these idiots, don't come again. Just go do something else with your Saturday, honestly.
Yeah, makes me. Anyway, Old Duffer says, Ratta says, he scored 2 great goals at Road King. This is Harry McKirdy, of course. I think it was. And he played really well. He got clattered against Cardiff early on. He seems to be struggling. I was seeing him wince a few times. Neil says Simpson is only available for 600,000, and the club keeps saying almost weekly it's not happening. Steve says, any thought on the pasties? I can give lots of thoughts on pasties if you
There
want.
was quite a few behind the counter in the Arkle stand on Saturday. In the I didn't have one, but there was just a mountain of them behind the kiosk.
Wax on about pasties if you want all day. I'm quite happy to do that. Mark says, I thought the treatment of Sol Brynn was shocking. The lad is making his way in his career, and he gets that. And Michael said Sol had a cracking game on Saturday and made banging saves. Steve,
yeah, that's the other thing to say. Yeah. He was man of the match on merit. One first-class save tipped onto the crossbar, and another 4 or 5 saves you'd want the keeper to make, but he made them really well. Got the ball away from the goal.
Of that save? And I know it's a ridiculous comparison to make, but that save reminded me of Gordon Banks' save against Pele. I mean, it was an extraordinary save from where we were sitting. He had no right to get there. It was just phenomenal. So I know it's a ridiculous comparison, but hey, that's what it reminded me of. So,
well, it was getting on world class. It was very, very good.
Yeah. Also delighted he had an outstanding game and thoroughly deserved his man of the match accolade. I think Sol shut the hecklers up the best way with a performance like that. I mean, Steve, why are we getting hecklers? I mean, we all get frustrated with a performance from time to time. Yeah. And, they lost 3-0 at Harrogate. Maybe you can fault him for the third goal and say, he could have come out quicker.
Sure.
But they were all bad at Harrogate, let's be honest.
They weren't great, were they? But no, I saw Sol Brynn at Woking, and he made some great saves one-on-one. I mean, I know it's Woking to the league below us, but outstanding young goalkeeper. And I've seen some of his YouTube videos as well and some of the saves. So, no, give him time. For goodness sake, don't, like you say, it's his first game at the county ground, a chance to play, in the league game in front of the fans. That's when you need to sort of support them more. But no, outstanding goalkeeper, and I'm sure he'll go on to have a great career. He's the right sort of height, he's got the right athleticism. So, and some of the saves were outstanding. That one you're on about, no way should he have saved it. And had it not been for him on Saturday, I'm sure we would have been on the wrong end of a scoreline again. So no, and got man of the match. Everybody's saying he's our man of the match, and sure enough, a few minutes later, that's who they awarded it to, and rightly so. And hopefully, he has a good career here at Swindon. And Lewis Ward again. We will feel for him. He did so well last season for us coming in, and it's that's the trouble when you have 2 number ones. That's what we got. You can't play them both at the same time. It'd be nice if we could, but maybe he'll get his chance tomorrow night. Lewis Ward maybe take Sol Brynn out for a game and give Lewis a chance in the cup. Make a few, give chance for other players to come in as well. But no, stick with Sol. Don't give him stick. Keep it stum. We don't want that. Support the younger ones because that's what they need. They don't need slating. They're just making their way out in their career. Especially if they come on loan, they think, what the hell have I come to? Rather back at Middlesbrough or whether. So no, he gets my vote at the moment. I'm quite impressed with what I've seen so far.
Okay, Lee says really harsh those supporters on Sol. He proved them wrong Saturday, though, didn't he? He kept us in that. It was probably the highlight on Saturday. Jonathan says, any opinions on the price of the programmes being £4? Claire says, I went to the open training session last Monday. Sol Brynn looked class in the stick, so I can understand what Scott sees in him in training to give him the nod for match day. I'm a big Lewis Ward fan also, but how great to have 2 good keepers. Trevor says, terrible slow service in the North Stand pasties area. Buck up, you youngsters. Darren says, 3 fantastic saves and loads of other good stops. Brilliant performance. Well done, Sol. And Tamsin, Sol Brynn, I hope to shut up the idiots on Saturday. There's a difference between frustration and being completely delusional. But Johnny, I think it's fair to say Lewis Ward is playing tomorrow night. Is that fair to say?
Yep. Yeah. Lindsay confirmed it earlier. I said he's going to, I think that's probably always the plan anyway, no matter the sort of off-field stuff. But he's going to play him tomorrow. I feel like the thing with Brynn is he was probably picked. There's the one thing I would say, there is absolutely no clause in the contract saying he has to play. That is not true. It's just not true. He was basically picked, or the general consensus I'm getting is because he's better with his feet. Ward's a decent shot stopper. Don't get me wrong. He's absolutely fine for having goal, but the way that modern football is these days, you need a goalkeeper to be your 11th outfield player, and Brynn is far better with his feet than Ward is, to be fair. And the other thing is with the criticism, it's not really fair enough to go this far. Obviously, they were probably just kids that had their first shandy and thought that they were the big I am. If the kid's had a couple of months, he's not playing very well, you can understand if there's criticism, not in the way that they did it, but you can understand if there's a bit of criticism. Like, I think was it Dan or Steve said earlier about, this is the first game we sort of build those relationships. It's about, like, if a new player comes in, just go, all right, then let's see what you can do. You've been picked. It's up to you to show us what. If he has a game like he does on Saturday, then you go, all right, and we're right behind him, and we move on. Lewis Ward's mature enough guy to be like, I'll probably get my chance. It's healthy competition, and also that we finally got 2 number ones to choose from. Like, so often in the past, you've had a number one, and then sort of in the nicest way possible, a potato with arms. Just whoever's been the second person in goal has not been very good as a rule. So it's nice to have 2 number ones to choose from, and you've got a kid who, by all accounts, the people at Middlesbrough and England coaches think that he could go and play in the Premier League and maybe even for England one day. So, I would say, reserve judgment and watch him, and then once you've got you've seen him in the flesh, you can have your opinion. But those kids that are having a go at him are obviously just a bit stupid, aren't they?
Well, all I can say to that is it's a good job Matty Kovar was in when COVID was around, because boy, would he have got some stick. That's all I can say. If you remember, he got enough stick without anybody being in the ground. So can you imagine?
Just from me. That was just from me.
Most of it from you. Joe says, coaching staff getting stick for contradictory instructions to players on Saturday. At the end of the day, you're only as good as the 10 blokes in front of you. And let's go around with this one. This is from Kevin. Thoughts on Gladwin? Looks fit this season. I got to say, Mitchell, I thought that's one of his best games for Sunderland on Saturday. I can't really say why. Do you know what I mean? It was, and I can't understand why.
So I am not a Gladwin fan. Hopefully not a Gladwin fan. So, and I think everyone's aware of that. So my benchmark for him is quite low. So he wasn't rubbish. So therefore, he had a good game. He didn't lose the ball. Okay, that's where I sit. He didn't lose the ball, which is my biggest frustration with him last year. Kept getting caught on the ball, but this game, he actually was. He got around the pitch. He pressed. He had an okay game. So from my point of view, he did well last year. I said the only running he did last year was running out of ideas. This year he does look fitter. He does look more pressing, and he actually won some headers. So, in my opinion, he had an all right game. That's where my benchmark is. But it's progress. It's going in the right direction. And as I said, he didn't lose the ball. And that was my biggest frustration with last year. He kept getting caught on the ball.
Dan, I've got to say, I mean, to me, if you wanted the build of a footballer to dominate a midfield in League Two, there is no better player than Ben Gladwin, is there? I mean, to me, he is the model, right? You stick him in the centre of midfield, and he dominates the whole thing. And that's been my frustration with him. What about you?
Yeah, well, he's never been the dominating type physically. He's never been quick, but he's got long legs. So he covers those first 4 or 5 strides as quick as a quick player, if you know what I mean. And the sort of first version of Gladwin we saw back in 13, 14, you could see there was a real potential there. And he used to glide past players regularly. I think the Gladwin we've seen in the last year and a bit is a sort of older, wiser Gladwin. He knows that he's managing his body. And I would go quite a bit further than Mitchell, actually, on his Saturday performance. I thought he was pretty good. That's 2 good games on the trot. I heard good things from Harrogate, and he took the Loathed Strangers man of the match from Harrogate too. So good signs on Gladwin. It does seem that he's lost a bit of timber. He's taken the fitness over the summer very seriously. I suspect they'll still probably be a bit cautious with him. I don't expect him to start tomorrow night. I suspect Johnny Williams will. So there is still an element of, there's a couple of bodies there that need managing. But I think the fact he was appointed vice captain was quite telling. That tells you that Scott Lindsay expects him to be on the pitch most Saturdays anyway, behind Angus McDonald in the captaincy stakes. We just want to see this rich vein of form continue. And I think in quite a goal-shy side, particularly if McKirdy's cold on the hot and cold scale at the minute, we do need a bit of emphasis on Gladwin, Williams, Reid to chip in with goals, because Hutton looks like a provider.
Mm.
Shade looks like he struggled to get into those first couple of games. So yeah, there is going to be quite an emphasis on the midfielders to join in the goal scoring, because we do look a bit goal shy for me. Sort of a bit McKirdy or nothing.
That to me is a big problem at the minute. I mean, I have to say Hutton's 2 crosses in the second half were just
super,
absolutely perfect. And if you were, like I said to Angus Hutton, Angus McDonald, if you were a centre forward, that is meat and drink. In you go. Your eyes light up. Bang. Yeah. Thanks very much. I mean, they were superb. So I thought Hutton was excellent.
I'd vouch for Hutton as well. That was the first time I've seen him live. Played better as a right back in a 4, I would suggest. Sort of running from deeper, which is quite often the way. It's a bit of a paradox with attacking fullbacks. And yeah, just without ever really doing a trick, just has that happy knack of just getting the ball out of his feet enough to whip that cross in.
Nightmare for keepers.
I think once the forwards get to know the sort of timings of when he's going to do it, hopefully they're going to pocket in that 6-yard box.
Craig says, let's not forget we got a point on Saturday, and that second half performance was excellent. 2 banks of 4 look really solid. Darcy has to start every week too. As similar from Alan, who says Darcy looks decent, I would say. Changed the game for us. And Darren says Darcy looked a baller, class act when he came on. Andy Williams, in or out? First choice in midfield for me. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Another Darcy one. Gordon says Darcy looked lively when he came on. Sorry for the late comment. Having my bread and water. The same mad world, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, with thugs on Saturday attacked a young player on the pitch with machetes. With what's going on in our country, I don't recall that story, but there we go. Controversial, I know, but I've always felt Gladwin is one of our most gifted players. A fit and hungry Gladwin could be a real asset. Paul says Gladwin did lose the ball in the first half. Striker then blasted it at Bryn, who tipped it round the post. Second half, played further forward. The coaching setup, lots of instructions from pitch side from different voices. How many coaches can you get in one dugout? It was quite bizarre at times. Also from Simon, no running water in the town end toilets or any hand sanitizer substitute. This didn't get broken during the game. It wasn't working well before kickoff. Their COVID risk assessment has obviously expired. I think that's it for the moment. They're still coming in, so we'll get to them in a minute. And actually, Hutton with a long throw, long time since we've had that, and it was quite noticeable. You mentioned that on the pod, wasn't it? And we noticed that as well, sitting right behind him as he took those.
Yeah, rocket.
Yeah. Right, Steve, where are we going to go with this? Let's put this on the line then. 4 at the back or 3?
4. It just, it changes the game. I mean, last season we saw, didn't we? We were 3 at the back, then also went to 4, and things looked a lot better. So no, it's 4 for me. Left back, I'm not entirely sure who I would put there. Maybe Clayton could possibly play there, and have Tyrese Shade a little bit further up, because I've liked the look of him the last sort of pre-season games. I didn't see the Cardiff one, nor the Harrogate game, but the games I've sort of seen him in, he seemed to impress me. But certainly the 4, possibly with McDonald and maybe Brennan as the 2, and then Hutton as right back. So 4 for me, definitely.
Johnny, Brennan, that's the concussion situation, isn't it? And so where are we at with that? Because he shouldn't have played on Saturday, should he? By all accounts. I mean, because he wasn't well.
I think he was okay on Saturday. It was basically a case of, so he got whacked at Harrogate. It didn't feel very well. He cleared whatever the basic, like the symptoms had gone. So I guess it's dizzy, and I've never had concussions, so I don't really know. But he basically didn't have any of the symptoms. Then I don't know what the protocols are, but they said that he'd gone through all the protocols. So, you do light training. I think you don't do all the training. So you do maybe half an hour, a bit of jogging, but I don't know. And then, so he basically cleared it. He was fine to play Saturday, but I don't know if the protocols aren't stringent enough, if he just said he was fine when he maybe wasn't totally fine. Then because I don't remember getting a whack on Saturday, so I don't know.
It was. The initial whack was at Harrogate, wasn't it?
So again, I'm saying, the secondary thing to sort of set it off again, but effectively, apparently, he was fine to play, and it was just it set it off again. So they've got to start from square one, like Scott said.
4 for you, Johnny, at the back?
I would play 4, but that's not what they want to do, and that's not what they will be doing. I can't imagine. So unless they're sort of forced into it through, I mean, at the moment it's kind of necessity. They haven't got fullbacks, so they kind of have to play, centre backs at fullback, or they can play Hutton on right and Clayton on the left, sort of thing. But I would say that pretty much, if you look at the recruitment they've done, it's been set up to play 5 at the back. So might have to be a bit patient with this one, and then maybe it sort of follows a similar pattern to last year, where we eventually, if I just keep asking him to play 4 every week, eventually I'll do it, and then we'll kick on the second half of the season. But I'm joking. I don't know. Yeah, I would say I would play 4.
Alan says goals shy is an understatement, especially during the first half. We look too lightweight up front. Scoring goals could be a problem this season. I think we kind of all identified that as the real Achilles heel at the minute. I mean, a 0-0 draw on Saturday is great, but you want to see the ball in the back of the net, don't you? That's what you want. Tom says the left back second half, forget name, had a great half. Remind me who's the left back.
Clayton.
Yeah. And Anthony says Hutton, Bowdry, McDonald, Clayton for me until Ellis back. Craig says 4-4-1 every week. Mitchell, a 4 for you?
Yes, but we don't have the right players. So we don't have fullbacks. It's as simple as that. If we've set up our team to only have 5 at the back, then I'm going to say the most Swindon fan ever. We have no plan B then. So plan A is that. Plan B is do plan A better. It forced us. I know Clayton's not a left back, but he did well. I do feel sorry for Shade though, because I watched the Cardiff game and he was great. He was really good. I think he's just collateral damage because he's not defensively good enough to play in defence. But it was really weird because it was the first time they went back to going having a right-sided player on the right side and a left-sided player on the left side. Because prior to that, obviously they had it their way around. Then Hutton looked really out of sort on the left, but really, really good out on the right. But we have 4 makes sense because it gets the best out of most of our other players. But if we don't have the right players and we suddenly start playing people out of position, Ellis is, Divine's injured, Ellis is injured, so we don't really have a left back. So I would like 4. I just don't know if he's, like Johnny said, he's not going to do 4, is he? That's not what's going to happen.
Well, we'll have some idea tomorrow night when we all turn up, won't we? Dan, what about you? 4?
I hope you can see this. 4, please. I would vote for continuity from the second half. And as much as Tom Clayton might not want to play left back, I think that would be a good way of getting him his first 90 minutes under his belt. I expect Bawdry won't play 2 games in 4 days. So might be a good opportunity for someone like Kean Harries to come in and show us what he's about in a proper game. I think Hutton, safe as houses at right back. I think a lot of the focus is on the 3 or 4 bit at the back, but I actually think the structure of the front end of the pitch is neglected in this debate a little bit. I think once we're into that Saturday to Saturday pattern, I think the best way of getting Gladwin and Williams on the pitch would actually be to have a front 3. So if you must play 3 at the back, why not do more of a sort of Gareth Southgate 3-4-3 kind of thing, where Johnny Williams, who is a bit more of a luxury player, I hope I'm not being rude to Johnny there, but he could play left of the front 3, McKirdy in his favoured sort of right wing position. And I won't name the centre forward yet because I don't think we've recruited him yet. I think Adeloye and Wakelin both look like, on the early evidence to me, prove me wrong, chaps, they look like squad strikers at this. So in Wakelin's stage of his career, he's very young, first proper move away from Leicester. And Adeloye, I don't know, I'm yet to be convinced by. I think in that last 20 minutes on Saturday, given that he only had to play 20 minutes, I wanted to see him really putting a shift in. I was a bit frustrated with Adeloye. I didn't see the run in sort of you might require in that kind of situation, given you only had to be on the pitch for 20 minutes. But yeah, I think that centre forward recruitment is a really key piece of the jigsaw. And if you can get McKirdy back to where he wants to be, which is right wing, Williams on the left, I think that's a good front three at this level. Feels much more threatening.
Where does Darcy go?
Well, you've got a couple of midfielders spots in behind, so he's competing with Reed, Khan, Darcy, Gladwin. Yeah, that is riches in midfield terms, but I don't think 3-5-2 will be the enduring formation this summer, which is a shame because it looks like we recruited to that formation, and someone like a Rob Hunt, is a very able fullback, can play both sides, was perhaps let go or no big effort to keep him anyway, perhaps on that basis, which is a bit of a shame.
Going back to this machete incident, Andy Williams says, where was this? And then Daz has said, a man in his 20s was injured during a match between Hope Church and Unity at the Gainsborough Sports Centre in Ipswich on Saturday. So there we are. Thank you very much for that. Kevin, what about Cow Meadow? Why can't we bring in our own players to give them a chance? And Daz says, 2 boys, 15 and 16, have been charged with wounding with intent and possession of a knife in public. Really nasty. We don't want to see that, do we? Right, let's go around because we're coming to the end. But tomorrow night, Steve, how important is it? Is it important or isn't it? Do you want to see a win? What do you think?
Yeah, it is important. We need to get a win, get some momentum, and if that's so be it in the cup match against Walsall, then great. But I think they're going to be quite a tricky team to play against this season. They've started quite well. They're not the Walsall of last year anyway. Put it that way. When we put eight past them in 2 games, so no, we do need to take it seriously. We need to get a goal. We need to get a win to sort of just build some sort of momentum and confidence up. So, play the strongest side as possible. And if that means a few swaps, so be it. But if he starts with Khan tomorrow night, I was very impressed with him on Saturday. He looked good, and he does look a good signing, good acquisition in midfield. So, get him starting, get a few others in the team. But yeah, no, you've got to take it seriously because we can't let this one slip. We all have a little bit of a good sort of cup run, albeit I know it's a League Cup, but we have fond memories of that, don't we? So no, if they've got to go out there and get the win tomorrow night.
I'm old enough to have seen the last decent League Cup run, which goes back.
I remember the Bolton one, sadly, from 93-94.
Oh gosh, it's been rubbish, hasn't it, in the League Cup lately? Sean Platt said we've been in talks with a striker, but we haven't heard anything more for a week now. We'll ask the advertiser reporter about that in a sec. I can't see Dabre or Parsons playing any more games beyond Papa John's this season. Hope they get a final chance, get a few goals and spark to life. If we're talking current form, does Reed fit in? John, I think Reed's performance second half was much better, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, he didn't play well at Harrogate, let's be honest. None of them did, as far as I'm concerned, really. It was pretty abysmal. What about tomorrow night, Johnny? Are we in talks with a striker? And B, what about tomorrow night?
I think they've been in talks with strikers for weeks, so it depends on who said person is referring to. But I don't think so. He said, Lindsay said earlier that they're continuing to look around. They're trying to work sort of all the old cliches and things. I don't think they're particularly close at the moment. Maybe they're waiting for one of those, older guys in the Championship, someone like that who's maybe not getting a look in the first few weeks. They're happy to take half of what they're on to just play football, and then you can sometimes get a little gold nugget there. So, I don't think they're waiting. Let's put it that way. I think they are actively looking, but that could be an option. So, but then on tomorrow, I echo pretty much everything that Steve said. I think they've just to get a win under their belt, really. Normally, I'd say no, because you just a sort of fixture congestion. It's only one game, but it's a bit sort of like, oh, do we just have a week off, work on things, and then get it right for the league? But to be honest, they're in a position where they need to win for a bit of just to prove that what Lindsay's talking about and his coaching staff would work. Because at the moment, I agree with Dan. I think going forward, we're way too narrow. You're relying on your wing backs to do double the amount of work they're probably capable of. I'm a big fan of that 3-4-3. That's probably what I would play with what we've got right now. But yeah, I'm hopeful. You never know which Warsaw's going to turn up, because the one that squeezed past Newport, if you look, I mean, you look at the stats at least, they've absolutely robbed them. Then they've hammered, was it Hartlepool the week before? So, Michael Flynn's got a new team there. He's a lot of new players putting his stamp on. He's obviously a really good manager at this level. So you never really know which Warsaw is going to turn up. But at the same time, if you look at the last 2 weeks for Swindon, you have absolutely no idea which Swindon's going to turn up in each half. So,
yes, a game of 2 second halves, as I said to Angus earlier on, our mate Angus now. Very important continuity, also cut run, money. Our name is on that trophy. Let's get beyond the first round for a change. It's a nice cup to win. Certainly is. I'm impressed with Scott Lindsay after the changes he made Saturday. Still early days. And it all depends on stats, what striker we get. There we go, stats, eh? Mitchell, tomorrow, do we go for it, get a win? How do we do it?
For that person who's just commented preempted pretty much what I was going to say. How well do they start in Moneyball? They don't. They don't start well at all.
No, they don't. You're quite right. I was just trying to remember the film. Yes.
Everyone starts to question the method in the madness, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So if we lose tomorrow, I'll obviously always want to see us win. And no fan enjoys us win. But if we're going by the Moneyball method, is it short term or long term? I want to see us win, but Moneyball didn't start out well for them, and everyone starts questioning it. And the person who just said, the striker we signed said, we're not signing players, are we? We're signing assets. So I have no idea at the moment how well we're going to do when we step out on that pitch. We could be second half of what we were on Saturday, or we could be the guys who played the first game against Harrogate, or the first half against them. Want to win, but Walsall got an experienced manager. They're looking quite good. At the moment, it could just go any way right now.
Dan, 2 trips this week. Not looking forward to Saturday particularly, but hey, it's Carlisle, nice pub opposite. You can get a decent meal. And tomorrow, what are your thoughts on tomorrow?
Well, it's been 53 years since we won it, and 28 years since we've been to a semi-final. So I'm starting to worry that we might not win the League Cup again. But no, without doubt, it's a proper game. You treat it like a proper game. You try and get through to round 2. That's when I think it's like 14 of the Premier League sides and come into the draw. And you want to make a bit of money. You want to have a bit of glory. And actually, a bit like with the Cambridge game this time last year for Ben Garnett, it's another chance to get some fitness into players' legs. It's another chance to see them hopefully become a bit more cohesive as a group. I want a goal. We haven't had one of them. I want to win. So Sod's Law will draw 0-0 and win on penalties. You watch. But no, we just need something to take into the long trip up to Carlisle for sure.
Well, we played
Something
very
positive,
well.
please.
Yeah, we played very well at Cambridge last year. Lost on penalties.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
did all right. So it was 0-0, I think, after extra time and that, wasn't it? No goals were scored. Good to see the changes he made up at half time, but that formation hasn't worked twice. Looked unbelievably lost first half against Salford. It was not good, was it? Andy, hello.
Good evening. How are you all? Another great evening. Thoroughly enjoyable. Thank you very much all for your participation.
How's that fire, Steve?
Smoke's out, so BBC Radio have tweeted, so but I haven't seen it yet, what they said, but it looks like it's out from here.
That's good to know.
All good.
Yeah. I thought we were close to signing Will Grigg, Steve. I thought that was the joke all the way through here.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to come anytime soon.
Or even Mehdi Karouche, perhaps, if you remember
that. He was on fire, wasn't he, for a little while?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for as I say, for your participation tonight. I suppose just one little point. Stockport tickets on sale as of tomorrow morning for priority window, and I think general sale is a week tomorrow, isn't it? Because that'll be one that a lot of people haven't attended for a few years, and that's August the 27th, I believe, isn't it? Yeah.
Just a couple of comments have come in late. Given the Moneyball asset ethos, perhaps it's not a good idea to get a player's name on a shirt or a tattoo. And Graham says, dreading the drive to Carlisle. Hopefully the drive home to the coast will be better. Well, let's hope so. There we are.
Okay. Many, many thanks. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully next week. Thank you very much, guys. Cheerio.